It's only been 4 days since I told you guys about the problems Last Oasis have been having, particularly their own doing in not talking to their community over the last 8 months. They've also had a massive gap between seasons with no real clues about what's to come. Well, they've just posted something a few days ago. And I would say the timing's probably just coincidental and maybe nothing to do with my video. However, I did do a video criticising them a few days ago and it did pick up a little bit of traction. I'm just glad that the devs are communicating to their players once more. It was always a bit of a weird one not to give heads up. Even if big changes are incoming, it's better to talk about it. Let's go over the details of what we know so far about Season 5, how Last Oasis could be changing direction and setting them on a course for greatness. So straight away, Neon is a community member. I do believe that was then brought on as a QA, has now taken over the community role, hopefully meaning they're going to be doing a lot more in the future, with their previous community manager carrying on working on other stuff within the studio. I'm not going to read it word for word, but basically they're splitting up devlogs, show you guys what's happening. So it doesn't look like Season 5 is going to be happening anytime soon. It could be a good maybe month or two before we actually see it implemented. But next week they've got their first devlog, and it's going to be revealing new creatures coming to Last Oasis, new AI systems getting completely rewritten from the ground up, changes to physical mobs, designs of new mobs and redesigns of old mobs, and how they fit into the new direction Last Oasis will be going with the new season. This could be a radical departure. Apart from a few special creatures like a sandworm, a giant crab and like an elephant style creature, the main majority creatures you come across are these Rupu. There's different varieties of them and some are more challenging, but that has been it. It's been pretty stale in terms of combat with wildlife in the game. But when your game's so focused on PvP, I guess the idea was you didn't need to worry too much about extra mobs. Of course, this leads to the problem of players being bored with not much else going on other than going and attacking and trolling other players. The main focus of Last Oasis this whole time has been basically raiding other players and taking their goods, which isn't such a bad thing. I don't think I want that removed, but they certainly need more components of PvE. Although a lot of things will be changing in the new season of Last Oasis, these reworked mobs, both old and new, will be playing the biggest role in this overhaul, and we're excited to share with you the changes. They then go on to say that during the months after their last season, they weren't just working on new stuff, but they were also looking for a new direction for the game. Last Oasis is incredibly toxic, as a lot of PvP games are, but because there is so little players playing it in the last year, that means that the most hardcore players are there, and that often means they are the most toxic. It's not all just players' fault though. Last Oasis lacks a lot of PvE activities. There really isn't much to do. There's not enough incentive to not be a total douchebag, so you can understand why players do kind of just go into just absolute being pirates and nothing more. So they go on to talk about the idea that people have always asking if there's a vision for Last Oasis, and they've said they've always had the vision for the game, but clearly that approach wasn't working out for a variety of reasons. They reckon they've come up with a better direction for Last Oasis and they can't wait to show us. Now that might sound scary, but do remember some of the biggest and best survival games have had these kind of moments. Rust, when it got rid of its zombies and absolutely rewrit their whole code using a new engine. DayZ, after years of no real decent activity or progress, deciding to again change their engine, start up from the bottom again, really help cement and make that game what it is today. To me, this sounds like they are going all in on lots of more PvE activities. I don't think they're going to get rid of PvP. But lately, other games like Myth of Legends have shown that you can have PvP and PvE sitting together nicely. In that game you have servers where they're all just PvE, and then you go into battle servers where you actually fight for riches on special servers that are PvP only. Now Last Oasis kind of had almost stuff like that. Beginner servers where older players, more advanced, they wouldn't be able to return once they left, but you could still get ganked within your first 10 minutes and have people trolling you and ruining it for you. The only other way to play PvE, I do believe, has been on private servers. And then the way Last Oasis works is you've got tiles that are basically maps, and some of these tiles have got better resources on. So you'd often get the release of these resources on these maps, and players would be going over to these ones explicitly, fighting each other, trying to get them. So that created even more of an intense PvP location. So as I said, I don't think they're going to get rid of PvP completely. That would be madness. I do believe this game could potentially be a great, fantastic PvP game, but they certainly do need to add more activities for other players so that not just constantly ganking others. They go on to say that the game is going to be redesigned in every way, changed in some form or another. We overturned a ton of previous decisions where we felt change was necessary, and they're going to hopefully give you a proper image of what the new version of Last Oasis is going to be in future devlogs. Like, it does sound to me like they're gonna maybe nerf PvP a lot more, or like I said, they're gonna open it up and really put a more reliance on PvE. And I don't know, that hopefully won't be a bad thing. As I said in my video last time, the numbers for players' peak times each day, they're not amazing. But as I compared it to other games and told you guys, this is pretty normal for so many early access survival games. The trouble is, if this game doesn't keep getting new players to join. If most of these 500 to 700 players every day are hardcore players that have been there since the beginning, it means the company's not going to be making enough money or raking in enough to progress. You could argue if they'd been updating more regularly, maybe they'd be able to keep their numbers a bit higher. But if you look at it as a whole, when you've got these kind of numbers, when the game is flatlined, you probably do need to do something pretty radical. And as I said, the most important thing really should still be trying to get players to come into the game. This is what early access is for, to take feedback from the community. But in my opinion, it's got to be a mix of hardcore players that know the game in and out, but new fresh players too, to encourage others to join. That's why it's so important to be on social media, talking about your game, especially when it is a live service survival game. Anyway, I'm really pleased to see this. When I made my video, I never really wanted it to be overly critical. I measure games against other games. I measure games against what other developers are doing. And it was clear that Last Oasis had fallen off a cliff in terms of communicating. So I'm just pleased that they're back on it, hopefully. With the devlogs each week, that should be a good sign, but I'd still like them to see pushing it on social media. Whether it's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, showing us pictures of development, getting people excited, asking people questions, showing creations off, whether it's pictures, arts, videos. That's more of the stuff that's going to help generate good buzz on social media and get more people to come and try your game. Especially with the Xbox crowd. The PC elite, they don't give a shit about social media. What they will do is go and look on the Steam review scores and spend a good amount of time reading all of the reviews. But Xbox console kids, they're more reliant on what good word is out there on social media. They've said they've got new public testing features incoming. They're going to be open for everyone to join, with only a few of them being private. And this is one of the new creatures that's come into the game. It's a freaking giant mad turtle style crab creature. It's literally got a mountain on its back, and you can clearly see there's platforms, winches and more. So it looks like it's going to be somewhere where you'll get loot and have to use your climbing abilities and grapple hooks to get up to. They're calling him the mountain crawler, but it is going to be a temporary name. It looks good, and if this is the direction they're going to go, having more mobs and variety of different creatures in the game to help that PvE experience, then I'm all for that. I just don't want them to take away too much that PvP stuff. As toxic as it can be, and as maybe unhelpful it's been in development and feedback over the last 6 to 8 months, Last Oasis should still always be a PvP led game for me. I'm interested, I'm intrigued. It doesn't make up for the lack of communication over the last 8 months, but it is a start. So as long as they hit it, they don't muck around, we get these devlogs, I'll be all for showing and promoting what they're doing in the next couple months. Let me know what you think about Last Oasis. Is this a good sign for you? Are you a hardcore player grumpy with me because I just called you all toxic? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you rat bags later.